I made a video about a year ago explaining my top 5 tips for building a better city in City Skylines, and while I definitely think those tips are still valid, I've explored some even more groundbreaking tips that I thought I should share with you after gaining much more skill and experience playing and exploring the game since then. So, without further ado, today I'm presenting you my top 10 best tips to improve your city in Cities Skylines because 5 just wasn't enough. So, my first tip is to choose your map carefully. So when you first open the game, you'll have to select your map because of course you'll need a map to build your city on. But this is a step that is often overlooked by many players, including myself in the beginning. The map that you choose is what is going to make your city the way it is. Therefore, I highly suggest that before you just dive in and start a new city, you actually take the time and have a rough idea of what you want to include in your city, including what type of industry you want to specialize in and what kind of terrain you want your city to have, as well as how you want your city to be laid out. For example, if you want to specialize in the forestry industry, if you have the Industries DLC, you want to pick a map which has a lot of trees, so you don't run out of natural resources. Or, if you want your city to be based around fishing, you want to pick a map which has a lot of water surrounding it. And if you really want to make public transport a big part of your city, you may want to pick a map which has more suitable areas for building, so that it's easier to build and incorporate public transport into your city. There have been quite a few times where I've just picked a random map, started building, and then realized it isn't what I wanted. So just take my advice and have a rough plan so you pick the right map for you. If there aren't any maps you like from the ones provided, you can always unlock more by purchasing some more DLCs or by purchasing the Content Creator Map Pack, which contains some amazing maps custom designed by passionate players of the game. So my next tip is to not overbuild in the beginning. So if you don't have any cheats unlocked and you're playing a normal game, you'll only have $70,000 to start with, which may sound like quite a lot of money, but trust me, it goes quickly. Therefore, as soon as you start a new game, I highly recommend that you don't build any normal roads as they cost a lot, and instead build dirt roads. They don't look as nice, but they're much cheaper than regular 2-lane and 4-lane roads, which can save you a lot of money when you're not earning any income. You can also easily start upgrading these roads once you earn enough money. As well as this, I recommend that you also don't build any complex interchanges or roads that run for miles, because most likely you're not going to use them when you first start to build your city and they're just going to be a waste of your precious money. Okay, so this one is quite obvious, but it is often forgotten by many people. Public transport is an essential thing to have in any major city, as it allows your citizens to easily connect between areas without the need for cars. This has a number of benefits, the main ones being it significantly reduces traffic congestion and pollution in your city, as there will be much fewer cars on the road. This is especially useful when your city expands, and you have many areas further away from each other. The first mode of public transport you will have access to are taxis and buses, when you reach a population of 650 people depending on your map. While you can start to incorporate those into your city as soon as you unlock them, I would suggest saving money by waiting until your population expands a bit more and your city grows, as there won't be much need for public transport at the earlier stage. Also, taxis and buses can contribute to traffic as they go on the same roads as regular cars, so there's no point adding these until you can afford roads with separate bus or taxi lanes. Or you can invest in modes of transport such as trams or monorails, which don't impact traffic too much. If you would like to add various modes of public transport to your city, you will most likely have to buy the Mass Transit DLC, as there are not many forms of transport included in the main game. The Mass Transit DLC contains many modes of transportation, such as blimps, yeah, don't ask me why they're included here, overground monorails, ferries, cable cars, and metros. If you would like me to dedicate a video on public transport, feel free to let me know in the comments. So, zoning is probably the most important part of your city, as it is the way you plan where everything in your city will go, including residential, commercial, industrial, and office spaces. So one mistake that I made, and many people make when they started the game, is that they completely separate the residential zone from commercial and industrial zones. And while this can reduce traffic coming in and out of the area and reduce air and noise pollution, it isn't how most cities are built. Generally, residential areas have some shops and restaurants mixed into them. Therefore, you should also add a bit of commercial zone in your residential areas. For example, in real life, residential areas often have little corner shops, supermarkets, cafes, and restaurants, which is what you want to do here as well. If you can also try and mix some industrial zone while using the commercial zone as a barrier for pollution affecting the houses. If you do choose to mix industrial areas in your residential zone, I would recommend specializing in the forestry or farming industry, as these are non-polluting and won't cause any problems for the citizens in the area. However, you will need the industries DLC for this. Or you can create a separate industrial district, but which is not too far from the houses in your city. Otherwise, you may run into the not enough workers problem, which is caused by the houses and industrial zones being too far away from each other, and workers not being able to reach the industrial area from their houses. This is especially true when your city lacks public transport in the beginning, so make sure to have everything relatively close together. When you unlock it, the office zone is also a great zone, as this can be mixed in with residential districts, as offices are non-polluting and generate a lot more money than industries do. So my next tip is to use info views. This is something I didn't really do at the beginning, but info views are so helpful at seeing the distribution of facilities in your city and knowing what you need to improve. The info views give you a really good idea of statistics in your city, such as the education levels of citizens, electricity availability, ground pollution, traffic congestion, and crime rate, which makes it really easy to see what needs to be improved in a clear and visual way. Therefore, I highly recommend that you check these every once in a while just to make sure that your city is not falling apart. Are you enjoying this video so far? If you are, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps me to create better content for you guys. Thank you. So my next tip is to build drain pumps downstream. So this is a pretty rookie mistake that players often don't really think about, but it is very important to place your drain pumps downstream. And what I mean by that is that you must place them in the direction that water is flowing, further up the stream from your water pump, and if you can, further away from them. So this is to prevent some, let's just say, stinky situations where you end up supplying with water with, in short, things you wouldn't want to drink. So if you make this simple error, you can end up having a huge virus outbreak in your city, forcing you to spend more money on hospitals, which are pretty expensive. So just make sure that you place your drain pump downstream, and once you unlock it, add a water treatment plant just for safety to make sure that your water is drinkable. And if you want to see the quality of your drinking water, just head to the info views and click on pollution, and you'll see drinking water pollution. So try your best to keep this under 5%, or else you'll have a bunch of cemeteries and hospitals in your city, which, let's face it, won't be winning your city any beauty awards. So, we're all looking to make more sustainable cities in the future. So why not try starting that now? Making your city as green as possible can not just make your city more aesthetically pleasing, but also improve the quality of life for all of your citizens massively. Now, if you want to focus on making a city more sustainable, you would most likely need to purchase the Green Cities DLC, which gives you tons of new zoning features, such as self-sufficient residential buildings, organic and local produce, commercial zone, as well as IT cluster zones, which can make your city shine with a bunch of towering skyscrapers. As well as this, there are a bunch of cool things you can add to enhance your city, such as the floating gardens, yoga gardens, biofuel bus stations, and community pools. The main ways I recommend making your cities more sustainable are by developing your public transport, choosing more eco-friendly power plants, and decreasing the amount of heavy industry in your city. However, even without this DLC, you can still make your cities just a little more green by doing things such as choosing hydroelectric or solar power plants, building roads with trees and bike lanes, building lots of parks, or making your city more pedestrian friendly to get rid of some of those cars on the road. So if you're playing a normal game without any cheats, you will unlock certain milestones as your population increases, and unlock more things to add to your city, such as buildings, areas, specializations, and most importantly, city services, which are basic essentials that cities need, such as police stations, fire stations, schools, and hospitals. And these are not optional. This means that you won't have everything unlocked at once, and demand for the service will only start to exist once you've unlocked it. For example, your city won't have any crime until you unlock the police station. However, as soon as you unlock a service, demand will immediately start to increase, and you'll have to place it if you don't want your city to become run by criminals and have all your hard work up in flames. For example, you'll unlock a medical center at your first milestone, Little Hamlet, and emergency services at the next milestone, Worthy Village. And you will always receive a cash bonus whenever you unlock a new milestone. So spend this money wisely on city services before anything else, as these are essential while other things such as parks are needed but not essential at that moment. And once you unlock Little Hamlet, you are able to raise taxes and take out loans if you don't have enough money to add these to your city. Okay, so this tip will only apply to you if you have the Natural Disasters DLC or if you're thinking of buying it. If not, this won't apply to you. So when you do have the Natural Disasters DLC, you are able to control the frequency of random disasters hitting your city. But let me tell you, even if you set the random disaster frequency to low, they can come out of nowhere. And trust me, I've made this error before, thinking a disaster won't come in a while, then it ends up coming out of nowhere and destroying my city. Of course, a simple solution would just be to turn off the random disasters. However, this kind of does miss the point of the DLC. However, it does make it a bit more realistic and challenging having it on, as any city around the world can experience disasters without warning, and they can have a much smaller impact on your citizens if you are prepared. By this, I mean that depending on the frequency of random disasters you've adjusted, make adding a disaster response unit which searches for survivors and clears buildings for rebuilding, as well as an emergency shelter where your citizens can escape before a disaster hits, a priority. Once you unlock them, you can also install an earthquake sensor and a tsunami warning buoy, which both give you warnings before these disasters so that they're not completely random and you have a bit of time to prepare. And it's always better to do these as soon as possible, because it is the worst feeling when you're interrupted by that loud announcement on the speaker that a disaster is coming and you don't have enough money or loans available to build a disaster response unit or emergency shelter, which I think are the two most important things. So this is my last tip today, but it is also a really important one which I think many people forget to do, and this is creating districts. Districts are pretty much what you think they are, and you'll see them in many cities around the world. They're basically just different areas of your city which you can use the district paint tool to create. You'll be able to assign certain policies, which are just rules to each individual district, such as a smoking ban, pet ban, which I would never do by the way, combustion engine ban, or encouraging biking, which can all also help to make your city a bit more sustainable. These will all depend on the type of zone that is mostly concentrated in that district, and it just makes your city a lot more organized and efficient having these policies. For example, you can have a predominantly industrial district, downtown district, and residential district scattered around your city. Whenever you paint districts, they will automatically be named, but these can be renamed by you. In my city, for example, I've also made one eco-district, which only has self-sufficient housing, organic and local produce, and exclusively office zone with no industrial zones. So, districts can be also used to add something a little more different to your city. Just make sure that when you expand your district, you remember to make sure you've painted over the expanded part with the district painter tool. Otherwise, the building style and policies won't apply to those buildings if they're not painted in your district. So, that concludes my top 10 tips for having a better city in Cities Skylines. The game can be a bit difficult and stressful sometimes, so I hope that these tips helped you out. If there are any tips I missed, feel free to let me know in the comments. The main thing to remember is just to have fun. After all, it is a video game which is supposed to be fun. And don't let some of these challenges of city building affect your experience. After all, the challenges and problems you will experience in the game are the same challenges that many real-life urban planners experience when managing cities. And a final recommendation before I end this video is to buy a radio station. There are a number of radio stations available to purchase on both console and PC. And some of these are really good songs made by actual artists, as well as some funny commercials. And it can really improve the game experience. Just jamming to some songs while you build can make it a lot more fun. My personal favorite is the Railhawk radio, and these radios only cost about $3 to $4 each. So they're not that expensive, and I definitely recommend them. The Cities Skylines YouTube channel has some short samples of some of the radio stations, which you can listen to and pick your favorite. They're definitely worth it. But that is for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. A link to my Discord server is also available in the description below if you'd like to join. I'd love to see you there. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments below, and let me know if these tips helped you out, and if you would like me to share some tips for any other games. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!